I don't even know how to start off a video like this. I've said 3 words and I'm crying already. Why is this so hard to say? I think it's because this to me is the last small corner of the internet where Nala is still alive. And maybe just me talking about it on here makes it real and definite, even though it has been for almost a month now. If you guys have been following my journey since, you know, way back when, some of you guys have been with me since Bad Girls Club 10 years ago. I filmed Bad Girls Club 10 years ago this year. And if you've been following me that long, you know for sure who Nala is and how much she meant to me. Unfortunately, Nala passed away on December 12th, 2024. Of course, my angel baby had to pass on angel numbers. It's very, very Nala coded. I know there's some curiosity as to what happened, and even though I don't want Nala's passing to be in vain, just to satisfy a few curiosities, I find it helpful and healing for me to talk about what happened. Okay. Nala was born in 2012. She was me and my boyfriend's love child. My boyfriend at the time, we have since broken up. We actually broke up pretty shortly after we got her. And I remember him saying like, I want us to get a dog, I want us to get a dog. And I was like, no, we already have Zuko. Zuko was my other Yorkie. He actually passed in 2019. We also had a family dog growing up, and it was always just one. We weren't surrounded by a lot of dogs. So there was definitely some pushback from me to get Nala. And oh my God, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy he convinced me to get her, because she was the light of my life since the day we took her home. And I'll never forget going to pick her up. She had a brother, and I wish we took her brother too. I can go back, but we were young, we were broke, we didn't have the funds to take on 2 puppies. We barely had the business to take on 1. But I remember seeing her for the first time, and I'll never forget it. I'll literally never forget it. From that day, she was my baby. She was my queen. She ran shit, and if you know, you know. Like, my entire life revolved around Nala, down to what time I had to be home at night. I'm a 34-year-old woman who has a curfew, or who had, oh, it's so weird to say, who had a curfew because her dog needed to take medications. Nala did have some medical conditions that she was born with that I learned to manage, and you know, I will give myself a pat on the back there and say that I learned to manage them very well. And she was always a priority. Anytime anything would go wrong, we were racing to the vet, no hesitation. One of the health conditions that she had was seizures. She experienced seizures, and she started experiencing them very young and very often, to the point where she had to be put on a medication called zonisamide twice a day for the rest of her life. So every 12 hours she had to take that pill. So if I was out, I had to be home, and she was actually the reason why I woke up in the morning. I'm like, I gotta give Nala her pill. So, you know, adjusting to these new normals has been extremely difficult for me. It's been hard for me to get out of bed, to find a purpose in life. Oh my God, it's so awful. This is so awful. It's been hard. I'm trying to find my footing, because it has not been easy with all of Nala's conditions. And you know, we were frequent flyers. I would always joke with my vet and the emergency vet that Nala was a frequent flyer. You know, she racked up her points being at the vet. She was such a champ until the very end. And just to touch on what happened, as you guys know, Nala was a senior dog. She was older, going on 13 years old. Unfortunately, as she got older and her medical conditions, they didn't go away. You know, they were still always there. It was harder for her to bounce back from certain things, like even down to like a UTI, and then like her respiratory issues. She was a Yorkie, so she's very tiny, and her trachea was pretty much collapsed. So keeping her nice and calm was something that I made a priority for her entire life. And it was always like this double-edged sword. Should I take her to the vet? Should I not take her to the vet? Should I just monitor her? Because sometimes taking her to the vet would make her symptoms worse, because she would just stress herself out, which is what happened, what I believe what happened in this situation. So going back to December, Nala began throwing up in the middle of the night one night. I had a trip planned to Disney to leave on the 12th. And earlier that week, she started to vomit in the middle of the night. Out of nowhere, she had been completely fine for actually a long time. And I was thinking like, wow, like we've gone very long without a vet visit, you know, without an emergency. Let's keep these good vibes going. If you have a dog, you know that signs and symptoms are very similar across the board with many things. So throwing up was always a concern to me. I always took her in, but it wasn't like a, oh my God. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. She starts throwing up over the side of the bed. And at first it's her food because she had ate. I was like, oh my God, like I did give her a new brand of treats. Like I wonder if they upset her stomach. Let me just, you know, monitor her. And she threw up a few more times, and by 7 a.m. She had nothing left to throw up, and she was kind of just like, every time she would try to, she was still very nauseous, nothing would come out, but then she would, I could tell that her legs would get weak and she would almost like collapse a little bit. So as soon as I saw that happen, I was like, oh no, like we're going to the emergency vet. 7 a.m. drove her to the vet. At this point, her vomiting had completely stopped, and for me at that point, I was just taking her as a precautionary measure. We got to the vet and immediately they started working on her. When we got there, she was panting a little bit, but she does that when we're in the car. She's a very anxious dog. And we ran a bunch of tests on her, and when I say we, I mean the doctors suggested tests, asked me if I wanted to give certain tests, and I just said yes to everything. That morning cost me $2,000. Just to put it in perspective for you, like I said yes to literally everything. I want no stone left unturned. This is my baby, and you can't put a price on that. She wound up getting an ultrasound and an x-ray, as well as some fluids, anti-nausea, and everything came back good. Ultrasound was clean. X-ray looked fine except for her collapsed trachea, which we've already been managing. You know, it was just a matter of getting her to calm down because she was breathing very heavy. She wasn't getting enough oxygen. Her tongue started to turn a little bit purpley blue, so they put her in the oxygen chamber for, I'd say like 45 minutes, and then we made our way home. That was a decision that I made because I knew that her just sitting in the hospital, she's not gonna calm down. Like she's just not. She's gonna calm down at home though. Like that's where she wants to be. And I was right. I took her home. When they discharged her, all they sent her home with was anti-nausea medication. So wasn't anything that they were concerned about at all. So, I mean, you can imagine my shock with everything and how fast everything occurred. But when we got home, she calmed down, she napped, she ate, which was very important that she eat. She was drinking water, she was using the restroom. So I continued to monitor her until I left for my trip on Thursday. And I was still like very hesitant about leaving because when it comes to my dogs, I'm gonna stay behind every single time, and I don't care who loses money. I actually stopped talking to this girl I was friends with. That's a different story for a different day. I wound up having to cancel a trip because Nala needed surgery a few years ago. She gave me some shit about it. I don't got time for that. My babies come first. Just like your human babies come first, my dog babies come first. Nala was fine. Continued to monitor her. I was able to pack and get everything ready for my trip. She was chilling like she normally does. Another reason why I felt comfortable to leave is because she was staying with my mom. Like whenever she wasn't with me, she was with my mom, nobody else. Never boarded her, she never stayed with a friend, she never had a dog sitter, nothing. She's either with me or my mother, and if anyone can take care of her the way I do or come close to that, it's my mom. So I felt really comfortable leaving Nala with her. The morning of my flight, I drove the dogs to my mom's house. Nala was so excited to be there, like the entire way in the car. She was just like, she knew she was going to grandma's house. We got to the house and I said goodbye to Nala like I did for every other trip. And I mean, this little baby has been with me through all my TV shows. Where there was one year that I was gone for, I had 3 shows in one year, and each show was at least 2 months. So, you know, we've had our fair share of, you know, see you laters, but I did not know at the time that this was goodbye. And I kissed her, and I remember my sister was taking a long time to get her stuff together, and my best friend was waiting in the driveway. And so every time I went back in to like rush Christina, I would like grab Nala's face and just kiss her face. I'm so happy I had those extra moments with her because I'll cherish those forever. And she knew she was loved, you know. Oh God, here we go. We left for Disney. It was me, my sister, and my best friend. We left for Disney. We went straight to Hollywood Studios, had an amazing day. I was checking in with Nala and my other dog Mila as well. I haven't mentioned, but Mila has been along for this ride too. She was with my mom. Every time I had a free moment, I was FaceTiming, I was texting. Everything was fine all day. And then I get a FaceTime call at around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And at this point, we were on our way back from the park. We decided not to stay for Fantasmic, which wound up being the best decision that we ever made. Because by the time I got the call, I was in the Skyliner about to be at our resort, and it was my mom. She said that Nala doesn't look so good, look at her, tell me if I should take her to the vet. And I saw that Nala was panting. I could tell that she was uncomfortable, so immediately I'm like, yeah, take her. I'm gonna hop on the next flight out. That's it. 2 vet visits in 1 week. No, something's up. I'm coming back. And I just remember like getting to the resort and booking it, just running. At this point it's 9 o'clock. I'm thinking like I can probably get on like an 11 o'clock flight. Let me go upstairs, like pack up my stuff. It's time for me to go. Got upstairs, I'm packing my stuff. Everything from this moment on is a blur. So I got another FaceTime call from my mom, and I'm looking at all these lights, and there's just so many people. I'm like, why are there so many people on the screen? Why are there so many people around my dog? And they're giving her chest compressions. Again, just very foggy at this point. But I do remember hearing like, oh, she's dying. You know, she's dying. What do you want us to do? And I just collapsed to the ground. Steph and my sister kind of fell to their knees too. You could hear like this gasp that everybody just kind of like made at the same time, because nobody even saw this coming. I sure as hell didn't, because I wouldn't have been there. The air just kind of like left everyone's bodies. They're like, she's dying. Do you want us to continue with the compressions? And I heard my mom going back and forth with them, and I kind of had to take charge at that point and say like, I am Nala's owner, and gave the directive to eventually stop the chest compressions because she was gone, but they needed those directives from me. And basically what my mom told me happened was when they got to the hospital, Nala was kind of, her neck was extended, and she went to pass Nala off to one of the nurses, and the nurse said she's having a seizure. We need to get her on the table right now and give her fluids. And then she just stopped breathing, and as they were doing the compressions on her, as they were trying to revive her, they were doing an ultrasound of her heart and saw that there was fluid around her heart, which ultimately caused her heart to stop, and she passed away. It's like the worst thing that ever happened to me. Having to say goodbye to my baby on FaceTime was something I wouldn't wish for my worst enemy. But I also feel like Nala waited. She waited until I was with my sister and my best friend to go, because she knew I couldn't handle it. When I tell you every table would have been flipped over in that place, I would have lost it. I would have lost, not out of anger, but just out of like, grief is such a crazy emotion. When you're dealing with like shock, you're literally losing your best friend, and no amount of money can save them. Like, yeah, she waited. She knew what she was doing, and I think she also knew that it was her time to go for a while. There were like nights. Normally she comes up to me in the bed, she'll say goodnight, and then she'll go to the foot of the bed and go to sleep. But there were nights that she just would not leave the area next to my face. She would just sit there and like look at me, and we would like talk. I would talk to her, and I would tell her how much she means to me and how much I love her and how special she is, and I'm so thankful I had those moments with her. But I do think she knew she was going, and that was her way of saying goodbye. I also think that she knew I was so comfortable with our little setup here. It's like me, Nala, and Mila. She knew that my life revolved around her. Even Mila. The reason why Mila is here is because of Nala, you know, because I couldn't picture coming home to an empty apartment when Nala did pass. So I got Mila because I knew I couldn't handle the pain. She knew that because I would tell her. I would tell her. She knew that if she didn't go now, and she lived until she was 17, 18 years old, which some dogs do, and God bless. She knew that I might have missed the boat to, you know, have my own family and have my own kids. I genuinely feel like she feels like she served her purpose here on earth, and when it was her time to go, it was her time to go. And that was her final act of love to me, was making sure like I was at the happiest place on earth, surrounded by my loved ones, and not having to see her like that. Like I genuinely believe that. Call me crazy, but you know, that gives me peace knowing that like this is how she wanted to go. This is what she wanted. I'm sure she also knew that I would have spent my last dollar. I would have went broke for her. I would have went into debt trying to save her. And I don't think she wanted to be saved. I think she wanted to go. She wanted to go home. So just so thankful I was able to experience a love like that. Unconditional love. I truly know what unconditional love now is like because of her. She is the best thing to ever happen to me, and I will grieve her for the rest of my life. With that being said, the last month has been the hardest month of my life. I am just trying to get through the days. Everything feels like a daze. I am just taking small wins as they come. Even me getting up to film this today, and it's just been really tough. I'm getting used to this new norm. Nala was my schedule. She was my life. She was my everything. And now that she's gone, I have to fill in those gaps and the emptiness that I feel without her being here, and I've struggled with that. I've struggled with my support system. I'm so lucky, like lucky, but I don't even know what the word is. My best friend has really, she's been my caretaker. I've said this, or I've been like, you are my caretaker. I feel like you need a break, because the way this girl checks in on me every single day, and sometimes I won't respond for hours, and if I'm not responding, she's reaching out to everybody else just to make sure I'm good, and she has her own life, her own problems, and we all do. But oh, this girl, I don't know where I would be without her, genuinely. So Steph, if you're watching this, I love you so much. I owe you my life for how you have stood by me through this and really helped me get through the hardest time of my life. But that is the update. I didn't feel right hopping back on here and not, you know, addressing this. Nala was a huge part of my life and my channel. She will forever be missed, and I'm hoping that this channel is healing for me and that I'm able to put my focus into something else and not necessarily like mask the grief, because it'll always be there, but do something that I truly love. And I know that's exactly what she would have wanted. And I'm gonna do it big for you, Nala. I love you so much. I'm gonna make you so proud, and just please wait for me. I can't wait to see you again. Thank you guys so much for watching and crying with me. Thank you so much for all of your kind words on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, everywhere. I just love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. Rest in peace, Nala. I love you.